Hey, it's Chris with GamerLeaks. So, I just wrapped up playing Doom: The Dark Ages, and wow, there's a lot to unpack there. I'm gonna give my full reaction of Doom: The Dark Ages, and then I wanted to investigate what appears to be some disconnect between reviewers and longtime fans of the series by taking a look at what people are saying online. And finally, and most importantly, I want to hear from you. So, if you've played a decent amount of the game, or even better, completed the game, meet me down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on Doom: The Dark Ages. And then, if you're on the fence of whether or not to buy Doom: The Dark Ages, I recommend checking out some of those comments below to get some raw reactions of the game. Okay, first off, all cards on the table, I really like this game. I'm a big fan of the Middle Ages setting, and I think the graphics are awesome, a good step up from previous titles. And although it's a little controversial, I'm happy they mixed up the gameplay in Doom: The Dark Ages. So instead of just running and shooting like in Doom Eternal or Doom 2016, this one lets you use a big shield to block and hit enemies, making battles feel more exciting and different. And unless you've played the game, you probably don't know how good it feels to barrel towards an enemy at the speed of light to destroy them. I just found the gameplay overall very satisfying. With that being said, the game is not perfect in my eyes. Like many games, there are some aspects that just don't work for me, mainly riding the mech or the dragon. But now that you know where I stand, let's start with what the critic reviews say. Alright, let's start off with IGN. Good old IGN gave the game 9 out of 10, saying it's amazing. Doom: The Dark Ages may strip away the mobility focus of Doom Eternal, but replaces it with a very weighty and powerful style of play that is different from anything the series has done before, and still immensely satisfying in its own way. And yeah, I completely agree. The gameplay is different from the previous games, but I think that's where the game shines, not where it falls short. Yeah, so I completely agree with IGN here. PlayStation Lifestyle also gave it a 9 out of 10, saying Doom: The Dark Ages shows that the team at id Software refuses to rest on its laurels and is always looking to iterate upon Doom's fantastic base. The addition of the shield helps the gameplay feel entirely fresh, with the parry system and melee combat helping it differentiate itself from Doom Eternal, which perfected the push-forward combat. With a varied campaign that features some truly stellar moments and boss encounters, this is one of the best PS5 shooters ever made. And yeah, so kind of like IGN, they're also saying it's completely different, different gameplay from the previous games, but that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing here. And yeah, I completely agree, especially when it comes to that campaign. It was a great story, and the boss encounters were truly epic. PC Gamer gave the game a slightly lower score of 80 out of 100, and said, if it sounds like I'm just asking for Doom Eternal 2, I promise I'm not. The Dark Ages is fun in totally different ways than its predecessors, and I love that. But its peaks are lower. After rolling the credits, I went back to Doom 2016 and Eternal to confirm the gut feeling. It has done a lot of subtraction with not a lot of addition, and I reckon this is the first Doom I won't replay. Doom is a series I associate with taking big swings, but the Dark Ages is safe. Yeah, so very interesting take here. Basically, they don't think they're changing the gameplay enough, which is kind of, and we'll get to this a little later on, it's kind of the complaint from a lot of the fans, is that they changed it up too much. PC Gamer thinks they didn't change it enough. And yeah, you know what? They changed it up from the previous titles. As you could probably tell, I'm a fan of this. I think it's great that they're branching out and not just making Doom Eternal 2. But yeah, PC Gamer thinks they should have changed things even more, added even more into the game, and gone away from Doom Eternal 2. So yeah, if you agree with that, let me know in the comments. It's a pretty interesting take here. And yeah, looking at the Metacritic score here, 85 out of 100, that looks to be about average for the reviews here, around the 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 mark. Okay, but now that we've seen what the critics think about Doom: The Dark Ages, let's go ahead and look at what regular fans are saying about the game here. Starting off with Double Daryl here on Reddit, he says, so I've had a few hours with it now, and I gotta be honest, it's the weakest in the 3 Doom entries. Not to say it's bad or anything, I'm having fun, and I'm gonna get a lot of hours out of it. It just doesn't hold a candle to Doom Eternal for me. I appreciate that they mixed up the formula, but I liked the Eternal combat flow, and was hoping to get more of that. And I think, hey, that's that's totally understandable, Double Daryl. I get exactly where he's coming from. It's a really fun game, but I can see why you would also want it to be more of Doom Eternal. Roman Rages on the Doom subreddit says, Doom: The Dark Ages feels lacking. Doom: The Dark Ages feels like it was the first Doom game released, then Doom 2016, then Doom Eternal. Ironically, that would make it chronological. It's such a step down from both Doom 2016 and especially Doom Eternal. The combat is boring, the exploration is non-existent, secrets are so easy to find, and the map already shows you where they are without any real searching. Falling off the map no longer kills you. Like, what? Music is super lacking, and combat that just forces you to color match. Green parry, red dodge, purple punch. It feels cartoony. The story is great though, and the Slayer is badass as ever. Usually you're all alone in Doom games, and it's actually pretty cool to see the Sentinels, more dialogue, and other characters. I know it's a different take on the combat, but it feels so lacking. When I saw the first Hell Knight and Mancubus, I laughed in disbelief. They are nowhere as cool looking or frightening as in other games. It's Doom, and anything that is Doom I love. But this has been a pretty disappointing game given what we've had before. I don't know. I disagree on the combat. I really like the combat of Doom the Dark Ages. But I can see where they kind of hold your hand a little bit, like they were saying. The secrets are really easy to find. Yeah, but I kind of disagree on the combat. It's a different take, but I think in a good way here. And then we have Chip Skylark's Shoes, also on the Doom subreddit, saying Doom Dark Ages is extremely disappointing, a longtime fan's concern. To start this, I want to say that I love the Doom games. I've played every single one multiple times, 100% of them on PlayStation 5. With each new iteration, they take what made the last incredible and add to it without taking away from the core design philosophy of the game. That being said, Doom the Dark Ages has been a massive disappointment in my eyes. It seems like less time and effort went into making this the next phenomenon in the series. First, the graphics are extremely blurry on console. I'm playing on PS5 and it hurts my eyes after 10 to 15 minutes, even with the colorblind workaround. I've heard better things from the PC side graphics wise, but the PC port had a disastrous launch, constantly crashing, so either blurry graphics or constant crashing. Second, the level design is borderline lazy. The open combat sections are a slog. Click these 3 buttons, destroy these 3 towers, defeat these 3 enemy waves, then travel to the center to advance. I thought we grew out of this type of design 10 years ago. Third, it doesn't need to be said, but the dragon and the mech, here it comes, sections are a chore, especially the dragon, as the fighting mechanics for that are as basic as they come. 1 button dodge, no flight-based combat, just hold 1 button, press another to dodge, hold the fire button. Why even have these sections in the game? At least implement them in an interesting way. Yeah, I can I can see that part for sure. That was my biggest complaint in the game as well, is the mech and the dragon. Fourth, the lack of hub area severely dampens the fun of collecting secrets. Eternal had your toys displayed. Music you found was displayed as posters on the wall. There were doors to unlock to get upgrades and unique skins, which encourages finding the Sentinel batteries, then exploring the ship to find all the hidden stuff. Not to mention the Unmacker, which, despite not being amazing, still gave players something to work towards, which was cool and had genuine payoff. Not to mention the Slayer gates being absent here as well. Fifth, the combat encounters felt lazy. There wasn't any time in the campaign where I felt in danger or that I would have issue completing it after multiple attempts. There are still, to this day, sections of Eternal that I struggle with on Nightmare. That is not the case here. Also, why is there no achievement for beating the game on Nightmare? Sixth, the music is not as good as Eternal flat out. It's okay, passable, but not exciting and memorable. And yeah, I guess that's true. I guess the music could be a little bit better. Finally, it actually feels like this game has less aura than Eternal. People don't care that you walk by them in Dark Ages. Some do, but not all. The Phobos base alone from Eternal had more aura than the Dark Ages. It felt like the Slayer was on his own path in the prior games. This one felt more like he was taking orders. I could go on overall, but I think this game is solid, but not the best Doom game by a country mile. They did not achieve what they set out to achieve here. Signed, a very disappointed fan. Okay, so obviously Chip Skylark's Shoes was not super pleased with Doom the Dark Ages, which I can see his points. They're valid points. I personally really liked the gameplay, and I guess it's one of those things where either you like it or you don't. In my opinion, I thought the gameplay was awesome. Some people, maybe not, and that's okay. And I do also agree that the soundtrack could have been a little better, and you know, it doesn't really compare to Doom Eternal. That's a very valid point from Chip Skylark's Shoes here. Chaotic Seemed Bun on Reddit says, I think the core combat system is a lot of fun. I love the shield as a combination of defense and offense modifier to the gunplay. Two issues though. First, the exploration aspect is a little frustrating. You are incentivized to explore and find secrets by way of puzzle platforming, but some areas of the map will just be blocked off until you progress a certain amount, like clearing a particular object or boss. This means I will waste my time trying to find a route that is impossible. To adjust for this, the game gives you notifications when you are going to leave the map, so it incentivizes going straight through every objective first. Then do a lot of backtracking to get all the items. Not a fan. And yeah, I agree, this is definitely a downfall of Doom the Dark Ages. Very valid point from Chaotic Scene Bun here. They go on to say, second, the hyped up vehicle levels are disappointing. The giant mech plays like a limited form of regular combat with limited enemies. There isn't yet anything to do other than stomping around slightly destructible miniature maps. The dragon is better, but feels dated, like a gimmick from a couple decades ago. The combat portions for the dragon are super restrictive, but it's fun to fly around a level, then land to shotgun murder before flying around to another area. And yeah, this was my biggest complaint of the game. I think they probably should have just left the dragon and the mech out of it. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Okay, so obviously this game is not every gamer's cup of tea. But, you know, don't get it wrong. There's a lot of gamers that do like this game. Mystery 7 Pike, who says Doom the Dark Ages is getting hate exactly the same way Eternal was getting hate back in 2020 because it's different from the previous installment of the series. It's not Eternal, it's not 2016. Which, yeah, exactly. It's not the same gameplay, it's different gameplay, it's a different game, and in my opinion, that's a good thing. Las Plagas Killer says, it's getting hate? LMAO, I love this game. Meta Sage SD says, alright, let's calm down here. It's barely been a week. Doom the Dark Ages is rather large departure from Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. People are going to need time to adjust to it. Personally, I have had one hell of a time just trying to adjust myself to the new game mechanics. Remember, Doom Eternal also kinda sucks until you finally adjust yourself to how the game is supposed to be played. However, once I finally adjusted to Doom Eternal, oh boy did that game start to get real fun. I imagine Doom the Dark Ages will be the exact same as well. New21349 says, I'm kind of surprised this game's getting any hate, to be honest. And then the Hardy Boys Grandma says, glad they dropped the numbers. I was getting tired of hearing morons say this game flopped. And he is of course referencing the fact that they just announced Doom the Dark Ages just hit 3 million players and actually a lot faster than Doom Eternal did. So yes, opinions are mixed, but don't let that deter you from the game if you are interested in playing Doom the Dark Ages. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it may be yours, and that's okay. Like I said earlier though, I really want to hear from you, so I hope to see you in the comments. Like and subscribe if that's your thing, but otherwise, here's another video that I think you'll enjoy.